Hello everyone, and for most of you, welcome to my channel. This video is actually a re-upload of a video that I posted a few months ago, but YouTube took it down due to false copyright claims. So I decided to upload it again. YouTube, please don't strike me down. I'm going to start consistently posting videos on here and on TikTok covering my interests, so mainly movies, music, video games, anime, whatever piques my fancy. This video in particular is a video essay on my favorite piece of fiction of all time, Berserk. It is a character study of the main antagonist, Griffith. So if you do not want to be spoiled, please click off this video and stay tuned for more coming soon. I won't take more of your time with this intro, so goodbye for now, and I hope you enjoy the video. Peace.
Wait. Before you dislike this video and threaten to burn my house down, just hear me out, okay? I absolutely hate Griffith with all my heart. He's an evil, twisted, despicable person, and what he did to the Band of the Hawk, Guts, and especially Casca is unforgivable. I also hate the people who genuinely say Griffith did nothing wrong. They're stupid, hateful, and the majority are trolling. But Griffith is probably the most hated villain in all of fiction, yet he's also one of the most misunderstood. Griffith is a very nuanced character with more depth than he lets on, and this nuance flies over so many readers' heads. I'm not saying Berserk fans are stupid, but the hate that we carry for Griffith is so strong that it blinds us from seeing him fully as a character. Kentaro Miura, rest in peace, wrote the best piece of fiction to have ever been created. And much of the critique on Berserk is about people misunderstanding Griffith and his actions. He's not simply a twisted psychopath who stabbed his friends in the back and violated his greatest admirer. Nor is he a heartless monster incapable of feeling emotion. The point of this video is not to win you over to Team Griffith. I'm also not trying to get you to feel for him even a little bit. I just want to make sure that new and old fans alike understand that Miura's character writing with Griffith wasn't simplistic rage bait. It was a masterful display of skill and understanding of the human condition and the pitfalls that we can all enter during the journey of our lives. Griffith isn't evil just for the sake of being evil. Far from it. Firstly, we need to talk about the man who was Griffith before he became Femto. It's difficult to talk about Griffith because Miura gave us so little, and what we do know about him is told to us from other characters, who can be unreliable narrators. This highlights Miura's character writing, as it leaves so much to interpretation and lets us fill in the blanks about the man that Griffith might be, what really motivates him, and what scars he carries. What we do know is that Griffith was born into poverty, in a slum somewhere in Midland. His parents are never mentioned, so it's likely that they're dead, or he was orphaned. He likely suffered through hunger, pain, and abuse from his caretakers, if he had any. But there was something different inside of him. He saw the world around him, what others had, and the potential of life, and he refused to accept his given place in the world. He had a fire in him, an ambition to one day rule his own kingdom, and that fire burned so brightly that it would consume his very being. He knew even as a child that he would stop at nothing to achieve that dream. In a world that crushes so many, he somehow survived. Not just survived, he thrived. No doubt he was extremely blessed with his mesmerizing looks, and he was likely physically gifted, but it surely took him years and years of non-stop dedication and training in order to become the insanely skillful, brilliant, and charming man that we meet at the start of the Golden Age arc. Yes, he was ready to sacrifice others for his dream, but people forget he also made self-sacrifices for that dream. His youth, his time, his energy, any meaningful connections he could have formed. He would forego every single aspect of his life in order to fuel that restless ambition inside of him. People were drawn to him. They could sense his unrelenting ambition, his unwavering spirit, and he had the skills to back it all up. He solely formed and spearheaded a massive mercenary group of skillful fighters, all charmed by him, ready to put their hopes, dreams, and lives in the palm of his hand. But ambition comes with a cost, a caveat, and his was pride. He developed a twisted sense of individualism and superiority, a massive ego that only got reinforced the more followers he amassed and battles he won. His lack of any authentic human connection caused him to view others as tools, dispensable until proven useful, only stepping stones on the path to his kingdom. His worldview becomes clear in his speech to Charlotte.
Precious things, like friendship and love.
For some men, these are the most precious. But I believe that beneath them, there is something even more precious than these. They are driven to pursue it, and they pursue it solely for their own sake, no other.
Their dream?
One man's dream can hold dominion over the entire world. For one who dedicates his life to the forging of a single sword. While many can pursue their dreams in solitude, other dreams are like great storms blowing hundreds, even thousands of dreams apart in their wake. Dreams breathe life into men and can cage them in suffering. Men live and die by their dreams, but long after they've been abandoned, they still smolder deep in men's hearts. Some see nothing more than life and death. They are dead, for they have no dreams.
I'm sure your friends are equally as fascinated by you, and that attracts them to you.
They are my able soldiers, it's true. They are dedicated comrades who sacrifice themselves for my dream so that it might be real. But that does not make them friends. In my mind, a true friend never relies on another's dream. The man who would be my friend must have his own reason for living, beyond me. And he should put his heart and soul into protecting his dream. He should never hesitate to defend it, even against me. For me to call a man my friend, he must be equal to me in all respects.
His self-absorption makes him unable to see other humans as equal to him, unless they too have a passionate raging storm of a dream within them. He embodies Nietzsche's will to power. He has a strong driving force within him that he is dedicated to impose upon the world by himself. He's driven to dominate and control others, swallowing up their minuscule dreams in the wake of his raging will. He rejects standard morality. Anything is permissible as long as it progresses him along his self-destined path. And it all culminates when he finally chooses to sacrifice all those other minuscule dreams and lives for the sake of his own. But no matter how smart, strategic, and headstrong he was, his fragility, his humanity, finally shows when he comes across someone who could be his equal. Guts. Within Guts, he saw a bit of himself, a damaged, independent, and extremely capable fighter. He viewed him as an extremely powerful tool in order to boost him further along his path, but he also found within him the first instance of a real human connection, a friend. We know this by how much closer he allows Guts to get to him, but his pride refuses to admit that he may have found someone of equal value to himself. And that prideful refusal is what motivates Guts to earn that friendship, to find the passion, a dream for himself as powerful as Griffith's, so that he can achieve Griffith's approval and friendship. Guts believes he has to conform to Griffith's worldview in order to be his equal, to be a real friend. So he leaves. And Griffith cracks at the seams. For the first time maybe ever, he feels something real. Abandonment, betrayal. It leads him to make the first mistake of his life. The rash, emotional decision to sleep with Charlotte. However, This wasn't just a spur of the moment decision. It was Griffith trying to regain the control and power he felt he lost in his short duel with Guts. His bright knight persona, who had never lost, took its first defeat, not to an enemy, but a friend. The first person that Griffith had ever cared for, bested by a man who could be his equal. But he couldn't take that loss on the chin and allow Guts to find his own dream. His pride wouldn't let him. So he makes a heat of the moment decision to further his plans and get a step closer to the throne of Midland. Yet decisions made in the heat of emotional turmoil often blindside us and can prove disastrous. Fate had it that Griffith's mistake would cost him literally everything. People often downplay or ignore the entire year of torture that Griffith suffered. Most of us can barely sit still for an hour without a screen in front of us. Griffith hung in that dark dungeon cell, alone, for what must have felt like ages, enduring the cruelest forms of torture imaginable. He likely gave up on any hope that he was going to be saved, and all he had to think about was the betrayal that he endured right before his capture. Surely, he recognized that sleeping with Charlotte was his mistake, but he undoubtedly blamed Guts for causing him to act emotionally for the first time in his life. Not only was his body brutalized and scarred every single day, but his mind and psyche would have been destroyed. He knew he would not face the release of death as long as he was in that dungeon. His purpose for living, his dream, was now an impossibility. Everything he worked for, all the blood, sweat, and lives lost in pursuit of that dream, was all for nothing. The first time that Griffith ever did something genuinely human, it cost him everything. What lesson does that reinforce? And even if he was saved, he would be a disfigured, mute cripple. And that's exactly who Guts and Casca rescued from that dungeon a year later. The reason people make deals with the devil is because the devil is very tempting. You won't see someone surrounded by friends and family, working a job they love, selling their soul. They feel no need to. It is when a person is at their lowest, with nothing to lose, that the devil finds you, promising you a way out, a better life, to make your dreams a reality. And it is at Griffith's lowest point where he faces the ultimate temptation. At the scene of the eclipse, he's a mute cripple. His best friend betrayed him, his closest admirer fell in love with his betrayer, his mercenary group is dwindled in numbers, and the dream that he lived for is tarnished beyond saving. He didn't choose to be saved, or to be put in this position, but here he is, and the God Hand offers him a choice: to finally make his dream a reality, or to live the rest of his short life in physical and psychological agony. Now, maybe if you see this from his perspective, what would you do? No, most of us are not narcissistic psychopaths. We would probably choose to spare the lives of those who care for and saved us. But you never know what you're capable of at rock bottom, when everything that defines you is stripped away. And just to put it in perspective, so far in Berserk, his and everyone's interactions with apostles has been limited only to meeting Zod. He has no idea about what the apostles even really are or what they're capable of. He doesn't know about the utter depravity and horror that the band will suffer as a result of his choice. To choose yourself isn't heroic or noble, but it's human. And in that moment of utter desperation and hopelessness, it's the choice that he makes. So he chooses to sacrifice them, beginning one of the most horrific and heartbreaking moments in all of fiction. A crimson nightmare straight from hell, where he is reborn as Femto. Power greater than he ever could have imagined is now at his fingertips, and he no doubt feels that ecstasy, that his dream is now attainable again. But there's one act I can never and will never defend: Griffith's assault on Casca. It is not justifiable in any way, shape, or form. It was an act of pure evil, a spiteful way for Griffith to enforce his dominance and resentment on Guts and Casca, his ultimate form of revenge. A disgustingly cruel punishment to Casca for choosing Guts, and in his eyes, betraying her loyalty to him. It's also a violation of the person that Guts holds most dear, tearing down Guts' reason for living and making him watch. Parallel to how Griffith felt, Guts destroyed his reason for living, his dream. It wasn't an act of lust. He was delivering a wrathful message, telling Guts, "I will destroy you the way you destroyed me." It is rage, it is ego, it is vengeance, taken to the extreme, and it is unforgivable. And this moment alone cements Griffith as one of the most evil characters ever written. The depravity and malice of Femto often makes us forget that before the eclipse, Griffith was simply a human being. No matter what you say about him, you cannot deny his incredible commitment and belief that he had in himself. For his entire life, he remained hyper-focused on his goal, never wavering in pursuit of his dream. Every second, every thought, every decision was all made in regards to that dream. This is something we can admire and appreciate. Most people give up too easily. They lack the confidence and the self-belief needed to make their dreams a reality. Griffith's greatest flaw may be his pride, and for him that manifests as a hyperfixation on himself and his dream. Nothing else exists. Nothing else matters. Everything outside that scope is irrelevant, and everyone is expendable. But pride is a human sin. We see it every day in one form or another, and it reminds us that Griffith was just as human as we are. The point I'm trying to make is, there is humanity in Griffith, and even after the eclipse, it still lingers, suppressed, underlying, rejected. And the first time we see it is at the Hill of Swords. Practically, the first thing that Griffith does when he incarnates into the physical realm is visit the mass grave of those he sacrificed. Not only that, but he returned as soon as Guts and Casca arrived. He waited for them. He wanted, needed to see them, because he knew deep down that he did truly care for them. When he arrives, he shows kindness to Rickert, choosing to preserve his innocence and not trample on the child. That shows compassion. The first thing he says to Guts is that he reminds him of when they first met. He's recalling those memories fondly. He smiles. When Guts asks why he's here, he says it himself. He's testing whether he feels regret or emotion, testing whether any remnants of humanity linger in his reborn flesh. He tells Guts no, that he is free, but I find that far from the truth. The very fact that he returned here, at the site of remembrance for the comrades that followed, loved, and died for him, the fact that he had the urge at all to return and test his humanity, proves that there is something there to be tested. Even when Guts attacks, he gets Zod to defend him. He does not strike him down where he stands and ends the story. He gives him a fighting chance. As he watches Guts and Zod fight, he feels a thump in his chest, where his heart is. He says his blood should be frozen. It should be impossible for him to feel anything. He rid himself of flesh, detached himself from humanity, sacrificed those he held dear. Yet still, at the side of the man he once loved, as much as his ego demands to, he can't control it. His heart longs and feels still for that man. He says those feelings must belong to the infant demon vessel, but that's false. He just can't take accountability. He refuses to acknowledge that those feelings linger, that they belong to him. Those feelings don't align with his dream, his persona, or his past actions. Still, he can't help it, because there is still humanity left in that evil, wretched soul. And for more proof, when Casca wanders onto the battlefield and is almost crushed by debris, it is not Guts who saves her, but Griffith. This doesn't mean he regrets what he did to her, but he at least cared enough instinctually to rescue her in that instant. Whether he consciously wanted to or not, he saved her when Guts couldn't, and I think that says something. And as soon as that was done, he calls Zod off of Guts. Guts did not have the Berserker armor at this point. Zod would have undoubtedly have killed him. Yet Griffith spares his life. All the trouble and headache that Guts would cause him did not matter then for Griffith. He chose to let his friend live. If he was truly heartless and evil to the core, why not get rid of the only living remnants of his human life? Get it over with and move on with his plans? Was it a moment of weakness for him? Possibly. But isn't it at these moments when we truly display who we are, where the depths of our souls expose themselves? The son of a bitch still has echoes of humanity within him. It's evident. However, it's more than likely the case that he is simply too far gone for redemption. There are a few more instances where we see Griffith showing emotion and contemplation, like when Rickard slaps him in Falconia, and he simply allows it to happen, in a way accepting the hatred and rejection. His lack of reaction or response seems to indicate that he knows that he deserves it. He doesn't try to manipulate Rickard further or retaliate. He just lets him go. There are also other moments when we see him in deep contemplation in Falconia, possibly thinking about his life and the actions he took to get here. It shows remorse, possibly even regret. Now, some may argue that these emotions don't belong to him. They belong to the demon child that fused with the vessel of Griffith's incarnation. But I don't find that to be the case. Yes, the soul of the infant resides somewhere deep within Griffith's body, and that's who we see visiting Guts and Casca on nights of the full moon. But we also know that Griffith is aware that it's happening. He knows that at times he seems to lose control of himself and drift off, and he allows it to happen. With his power, he could surely suppress or get rid of the boy, but he doesn't. This says something, that Griffith longs for emotion. As they share the same body, he feels the boy's love and longing for his parents, a feeling that Griffith never allowed himself to feel when he was human. Deep inside, he craves that intimacy, that connection, as much as he denies and hates to admit it, and it's proven when the Moonlight Boy finally reveals himself to be one with Griffith at Elfhelm. In one of the most powerful panels in all of Berserk, the final page that Miura left us before his tragic death, we see Griffith shed a tear. The most emotional, most human thing we've ever seen him do. He tells us that he dreams of nostalgic warmth on nights of the full moon, and that when he wakes, he feels loneliness. This proves his desire for connection and longing that he neglected his entire life. Even as a god hand, he still feels for Guts and Casca. A part of him wishes to be with them, to be with anyone. But as the tear falls down his cheek, he says that that feeling quickly fades like morning dew. He is a monster, that is true. He knows it to be true. So every facet of his being is committed to rejecting his emotions, his humanity. This isn't a new trait for Griffith. He's been doing this his entire life, shunning his emotions, pushing others away, neglecting his human desires. But he can't help it. All the regret, all his longing and humanity manifests in and falls down with that tear. He is incapable, no, unwilling to allow his humanity to shake him. He's focused on his dream and his dream alone. So he lets out one final cry and forces it to fade away. Not because he feels nothing, but because feeling anything could cost him his dream. And that's the one thing he can never afford to lose. In the end, I want to clarify that this wasn't a defense of Griffith the person, but Griffith as a character. In a story filled with monsters and demons beyond our imagination, Griffith stands as the most heinous one of all, because he was human. It serves as a dark mirror, one that shows us what happens when ambition becomes obsession, when pride and ego turn to rage, and when we disregard those who love and care for us. Kentaro Miura showed us that the greatest evils exist within humanity. He showed us how the choices we make and the perspectives we hold can shape and impact ourselves and those we care for. Although Griffith's actions are disgusting and irredeemable, they are also very human. Atrocities like the ones Griffith commits happen in our world, and they are not done by demons, but by people. It is easy to hate someone simply based on their actions, but it is harder when we know their story, when we see the humanity within them, when we take the time to understand them. Yet it is in that contemplation that we truly learn what it is to be evil, to deserve hatred, and also when people deserve forgiveness. By knowing the difference, we can reserve that hatred and punishment for the ones who deserve it most. It's a good sign that we hate Griffith so much, not just because of what he did, but because we understand the man that he is. And that's what makes him one of the greatest villains ever written. Not because we forgive him, but because we never will.
If you made it here, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I want to apologize for my raspy, sick voice. This was my first time doing a video like this, and I just wanted to try it out and give it a shot. I know it's probably shit in many ways, but here we are. It took me way too long to get finished with anyway, so yeah, please leave your thoughts and any comments you have down in the comments, and hopefully I'll be seeing you soon.